Old men and technology, eh?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so that's quite a good way I have it. So I have obviously the YouTube I have on the right hand side of my screen, so I
Mm.
can see all the chat as it all goes out live, etc. Um, and we are live on YouTube. Hello, morning YouTube. If anyone pops up, if anyone sees this, like I
The
say,
wonderful
this
world of YouTube.
yes,
Morning.
this is the special bit you get to see before I get to the edit. uh, right now we start as a recording on here. Pop that back up there for a second. So now we're recording there, and now we can pop back over there. Cool. Right, here we go. Are you ready?
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll? I have my little notes in front of me, and we're good. Hello and good morning, and welcome to the Talk Football Podcast. This is episode 19. I will get it right. And I've been waiting and wanting to get this man on my podcast for a very, very long time. We are welcoming to the pod Mr. Simon Cotton, Southampton fan extraordinaire. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Good morning, my friend. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It is awesome to finally have you here. It's taken
Yeah, it's been a
ages,
long
but
time.
this is the beauty of shift workers. We can it takes forever for us to get anything
Yeah,
sorted out and done.
exactly.
And you must be a very, very happy man at the moment. Obviously, Southampton securing promotion back to the Premier League.
I'm still coming down from it, mate. I'm still trying to pinch myself that it actually happened after a long season and
I mean, I
nearly
honestly
thinking it
admit,
wasn't going to happen.
yeah, I honestly admit, I had Southampton. Sorry, I had Leeds as favourites for the playoff game. I thought they
A lot of
had
people did.
the momentum. I thought they had the attacking qualities, and was a bit worried for Southampton that I think whether they could handle the likes of Nonto and Somerville, etc. But
Mm.
defensively, you were outstanding in that game.
Wow, I like you said about the start of the season. The start of the season we were going great guns, and then it was that game against Bristol. We
Yeah,
came up short, and then after that we started nose diving, and I thought, oh, here we go. The same old Southampton's gonna kick in here in a minute, and it did. And then we picked back up form again. We started playing football instead of trying to do some fancy stuff, and it prevailed. We got ourselves to the playoff finals. But respects to Leeds, they put up a good fight to get to the final. Let's not write them off. They
yeah.
still wanted to bounce back to the Premier League. So
Well,
hats off to them. They done extraordinary to get to the playoff finals. But I
yeah,
will
they
say,
had
as a
a
Saints
tough.
fan, it was nice to see Saints control the game. And there was a couple of periods where I thought Leeds were going to come back into it. Especially when they hit the post. My throat just dropped, and I thought, oh no, here we go. Because Saints don't do well at Wembley.
No, and Leeds, I think it's now. I don't think that they have won a playoff game, a playoff final game now. I think it's incredible that record for them now.
Yeah, it came up. I think, if I remember rightly, after all the celebrations, it came up. How many times Leeds have been to a playoff final. No disrespect to any Leeds fans that are listening or hearing this, but it came up, and that if I was a Leeds supporter, I would be angry at that. Because it's the same with every football club in any division. You want to get to the top, and that's the Premier League.
Yeah, it is. It's tough on them, but I'm sure that they'll bounce back after
Yeah,
next season. So yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, finishing fourth and then going through the playoffs. Playoffs are always the probably it is the most difficult way to do it. So thoughts on your manager. You know,
Russell Martin, he first came in, and we as a Saints fan, hopefully I don't mean to speak for every single Saints fan, but this is just my opinion. He came in, and I was just like, oh, okay. We'd just been through so many managers, and we had that other manager. I thought, what could be worse than what we already had? And he's come in, and I don't know what he's done, but he's got the team focused. He's got the team playing for each other, playing for the club, playing for the supporters and themselves as professional footballers. He's got them playing to enjoy football again by the looks of it, you know, which is what we want to see. And every fan of any football club wants to see their team play football and enjoy it as professionals, you know. Chelsea, now nicked a manager from another club who's just been up for 5 minutes, But yeah, Russell Martin's done something, and it looks like we've got a new way of forward. We're not looking back, we're looking forward. And I hope this is a start, and I hope the club that up in the ivory tower just still believe in him and back him and just give him what he says. If he's seen a player that can help the club, support him, give him it. Let's build foundations now with Russell Martin and the way forward.
Yeah, I suppose that's always the fear when you get promoted, that you start a season and naturally things might not go so well because it is a step up, it's a different level, and then the board get a bit twitchy and they make a decision too early. So let's hope that not be the case and they not do that. And then talking of players, you had two players on loan who did particularly well for you in Downs and Fraser. Brought real energy to the midfield and forward areas.
Oh well, Fraser's now signed for us.
Is that done deal now?
Yeah, that he is with us, and both sets of players. I won't speak individually. I'll just say both sets of players came into the team, and the fans have just got behind them, and their football awareness on and off the ball is just fantastic, and the energy they put in for 90 minutes is great. I haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah, I think that there is talk as well that you're going to try and get Flynn Downs on a permanent as well.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
that would be something great.
West Ham have got a new manager, so I mean he may well be part of Lopetegui's plans, but you would think Lopetegui's probably going to want to bring his own style of midfielders in, so there probably is an opportunity to get him on a permanent. So that'd be great.
I hope that Downs stays with us and wants to continue the journey and strengthening Saints' position in the Premier League. I'm not hoping for miracles or anything. It's going to be a tough next season. It's going to be very, very hard next season because every year the Premier League, it outdoes itself. Every year it gets difficult. We spent 12 years back in the Premier League, and that final season when we went down, it was just unbelievably hard.
Yeah, well, we've seen that in the season that's just gone. Because obviously the three teams that come up, but the three teams that went down, and that's despite the fact that Everton and Forest got points deductions as well. So that that really does make it difficult. I'll see one name that was linked with a possible return to Southampton this morning as well. Adam Lallana.
Yeah, I've got an opinion on that, and I hope other Saints fans have as well. I think no, I wouldn't like to see him back. I think as I've said before, we're on a new way forward now, not back. He left Southampton to go and play for Liverpool. He wanted the big games. He wanted to win things. I was there working when that final game of the season he was playing. He was last behind all the players, tapping his top, kissing the badge as all players do, and then he left. And then it didn't work out at Liverpool. He went to Brighton. And now, because we were in the final of the playoffs, he was sat next to Matt Letizia. I'm sorry. You played for us. You wanted to leave. We've got a new team of players that want to play football. And as I'll quote Russell Martin, do something special with the club. I don't think bringing in past players will help. I think it will just disturb what we've got.
Yeah, bit of regression that would be.
Yeah, same with Danny Ings. Danny Ings is rumoured to come back. No, I'm sorry. I think we should leave past players alone because it hasn't worked out where you went. Let's get new blood in. Let's use some of our academy, bring them up and move forward in a new way. I don't think bringing past players back. It has worked in the past in other teams, but we got Russell Martin now with his way of thinking. I think that's what we need.
I'd agree. Young dynamic players.
You look at Samuel Dozie. You know, we got him from Man City, my wife's team, and he's just been electric. He's phenomenal.
Well, I mean, saying that, it's been a great couple of weeks in your household.
Oh no, it was the FA Cup final was quite interesting. You got the father-in-law who's they're both hardened Man City fans, because that's where they're from. You know, and my wife, she was at the game where Paul Dickoff scored the vital goal for them to go up, and her dad and mates were wanting to leave, and she turned around to them and said, "No, let's wait. Something's going to happen." And bang, it did for them.
Well, they're good at the late stuff. Very good
at
the late stuff. The old Aguero moment.
Yeah.
So if we're going to touch on we just did a little bit there anyway, but your hopes are for the upcoming season. I mean, we know it's going to be difficult. Recruitment will be key. I do think that young dynamic players would probably be the way to go, supplemented with the academy. But maybe giving one or two players, like, and I haven't really got any names like to throw at you, but bring in a young forward, a young midfielder, and give them an opportunity. Maybe someone who's a one or two loans from Premier League teams that where they may not get minutes, etc. So, but fit the ethos and style of play that you want to implement. Obviously, with the Premier League, you have to adapt a little bit. We saw with Burnley, they didn't adapt.
No,
and and they struggled with that. They wanted to continue trying to play, and I think, because of the grounding and where your managers come from, I think he'll have that grounding to know that he has to approach this in a different way. So I'm hopeful for you. I'd like to see you have a real good shout at staying up. And
as I've said, I think in the next season, I think we're going to have a reality shock. The Premier League, every year it gets harder and harder, and you've got to hit the ground running. I think one or two old heads might help. That maybe got a year left. I think to help a young squad that we've got and keep bringing in the young squad. But I think for the first 2 seasons, I think we should get some old heads, not past ones that have been with us, but I think from other teams that are looking for that final match or final 2 seasons to help a young team. We've seen that work before. Burnley, I felt sorry for, but Vincent Kompany just wanted to try and play the same way from the Championship, and as it didn't work, but now he's laughing. He's gone to Munich, so there's every cloud in that. But back to Saints, I think we got to try and carry on playing the way we did. And I know the Championship and the Premier League are different, but the Championship itself is becoming very hard now. From when it first started, the Championship. You look at the competitiveness in the Championship now. Every team goes out there and gives it their lot, and it's just as exciting as the Premier League. But when you get to the Premier League, obviously the pace, the energy you got to put in it's got to be 10 times more than the Championship. So I think Saints will cope, because obviously they've been there before, and we were one of the longest teams in the Premier League as well before we did eventually met our demise twice now. But I think we'll win the games we're supposed to win. And then there'll be games like yourselves, Chelsea, City, United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. I'll be watching like this. But I think once the season gets on and we come around to play those teams again, I think we would have found our feet by then, hopefully.
Yeah. I think maybe, if you can get, say, 2 or 3 wins under your belt in the first, say, 10 to 15 games, and a few draws thrown in, not get battered, because that as a morale level kind of thing, that'll help the players.
You're not saying another 9-0 again, are you?
No, hopefully not.
Hope not.
And like you were saying about getting a couple of experienced players in. I mean, that very, very, very nearly worked for Luton. They brought in like Townsend and Barkley, which
But there you go.
really helped.
I would look at Townsend. All right, Luton have gone down, but does he want to carry on playing in the Premier League or the Championship? Kudos to him. If he wants to stay with Luton and get them back up, brilliant. I like that about players today. You talk about loyalty. The last loyal person, I don't mean to say it, that stayed with a club was Matt Le Tissier.
Well, my club tried to nick him off you.
Yeah, and
times.
United tried it. There was loads of teams that wanted Le Tissier, but he stayed loyal. So hopefully, if Townsend wants to stay there, but I wouldn't say no to someone like that to come in with a mixture of young lads and Russell Martin's way. If we signed him, that'd be brilliant to have that standard of player in the mix.
That's it, and just a little bit of experience around young players, young heads, just with that little bit of Premier League knowledge,
and a voice in the dressing room.
Yeah, bit of a leader on a pitch, that wouldn't actually be a bad shout. Whether or not that's something that they'll look at, I think that would be a sensible thing.
Because it's not just in the pitch; it's a bit like someone like Roy Keane, who was a voice in the dressing room. And when you left after you played, and when you done your training, it's about how you are away from the club, because no one's bigger than the club.
Yeah,
it's to have that grounded, because when you're in the Premier League, everyone's more on you. You've got all these advertisements, you've got cameras and everything all out everywhere. So you need someone like a Roy Keane, who's going to keep you grounded and your feet on the floor.
100% agree with that. Yeah. So, well, I mean, we've covered that. So we're hopeful. We're going to see how it goes. Obviously, we'll get you back on. After the season sort of like kicks off, after maybe like 5 or 6 games, and we'll kind of see where you are.
Well, so hopefully we do what we did before. The top 6, we beat them. The top 6 back when we had Ronald Koeman, we beat the top 6. Hopefully we can do that. I am touching wood. I'm touching all the wood in the house. Because Chelsea are going to look good next season. Now with your new manager, hopefully it brings you all together as a collective. And
I'm trying to stay positive on that. The appointment for me, not to touch too much on Chelsea, because it's about your club, but
my question to you,
it was a little underwhelming, the appointment, and to be honest, most of the names we were being linked with were a little underwhelming.
Okay,
but that's going off of a period of 20 years of success under Roman. The reality of that is that's not where we are now. We have got a very, very young team, the youngest squad in the Premier League. So perhaps the approach of having a manager that just wants to work with the group of players, is not fussed about the business aspect of it or how the club's run, maybe under this new, and that's the thing. The reality is, as Chelsea fans, these owners are going nowhere. As part of the deal when the club was sold, that they can't sell the club for 10 years.
Okay.
So we're stuck with them. I know that they've taken a lot of stick, but they have put an incredible amount of money into the club already.
Oh yeah.
4.2 billion to secure the club. They have had to sign. They've had to sign promises of improvements on the stadium and commit a level of money to that. And then, of course, we've spent the best part of $1 billion on the squad. I know we've got rid of a lot of players and we've saved a lot of money on wages, etc., getting higher. We've only got 2 really high earners on the book still, which is Raheem Sterling. All right, we've got Lukaku and all that, but that he's going to go. We know that's going to go. Whether that's another loan or permanent, he'll be off the books. But Sterling is the last one really, on like 325k. So once we get that off the books, we're financially in a much better position. My fear is that, as with any club, that they
that's my friend.
people will come raging for young players. Hello, congratulations on the season.
Doing a podcast with my friend.
Oh, okay.
He's just saying congratulations on the season, winning the league. He's a Chelsea fan. He's got a podcast. Yeah, I'm on this podcast.
Tell her she's live now.
You're live.
Go in there.
See you
Go to
later.
work. Bye.
She's run off. The missus has run off. But that's a good thing. We haven't got a Man City fan that wants to run on the screen and gloat. I mean, you know, that shows a great level of humility. There we go. Oh,
Brilliant
this
stuff.
is the brilliance of live recording.
That's it.
You know?
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything
Yeah.
can happen.
All right, so we've spoken about Southampton. So now I'm going to switch it around a little bit, and we're going to talk about you.
Me. Ooh.
And I've got a lot. Obviously, people that follow the socials know that I'm doing a thing on mental health awareness, a little mini documentary that's going to be on myself, and my battles with my own mental health, etc., and stuff that I've been through. And obviously, yourself as someone, and don't worry, I'm not springing this as a surprise of him. I've made sure he's okay with talking about it. So
100%. Anything that can help.
So yeah, I mean, so obviously, as someone who has had their struggles with dyslexia and all that, you know, and people watching this don't know, but he's been a union rep for a number of years. It's a role that requires an incredible amount of dedication, time, ridiculous amounts of paperwork for your branches and stuff like that, and yet, you know, despite the fact that with what you have to deal with, you come through it and you excel. So for people out there, obviously, that have similar kind of problems, etc., I would look at someone like yourself as an inspiration. And
Bless you. Thank you so much.
No worries, mate. You know, I don't want to make you too big-headed, but yeah.
No, I can't get it in the camera now. So.
and obviously, you've done stewarding at the ground as well. So I mean,
yes.
how did you get into that?
Well, funnily enough, I was at the game when we were first in the championship, and we went down. We lost to Burnley, funnily enough. I ran on the pitch. I say no more. Just you know, and then the jobs were available. I applied. 18 years later, I'm still there working as a steward. I've seen the ups. I've seen the back-to-back promotions, working for them. I've seen us go back down, and now I've seen us go back up again as a steward, working for your team since you came into the world. You know, it is an honour. I will say, the work for your football club. It is challenging. They're not, you know, best employer in the world, but
yeah.
I'll save that for another day. But it is nice to work for your football club and see your team play well, as well as working and trying to help the supporters when they come into the football ground.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then obviously, your day job. I mean, you haven't got a standard 9 to 5. So tell us a bit about what you do on a daily basis. Because this is
23 years ago, a young lad started working at his local waste and recycling depot as a refuse worker, bin man, waste operative, whatever they call them nowadays. And yeah, I'm still there. And at 27, I was elected as a shop steward, health and safety rep for my union, Unite Union.
He's got the cup. He's got the cup with him. Show him your cup. There you go.
The match. Oh, that's it. Definitely. Best union in the UK. Yeah, I got elected, and it was very daunting at first, because obviously at 27, you've got middle-aged men that are 40, 50, near on retirement, you know, and they've got this 27-year-old who's full of energy, who wants to help them, but also they said at the time, one comment, you're only 27, you can't tell me, you know, but I had to stick with it. I had to grow, as you know, of being a bus driver, you know, rhino skin.
Yeah.
You had to get that armour straight away. And I'm still there. I still have challenges as a rep every day, you know, with the council and the national employer, you know. So I've I enjoy it, and also sometimes I feel like,
Why
but
do I
then
do
I
it?
remember why I became a rep, because I want to improve health and safety in the workplace. I want to make sure workers have the best terms and conditions in the workplace, and they have someone that has their back. Especially when the manager says something and the members like, oh, I don't know what you're saying, I don't know what I'm doing, and they come to a union rep who can read it out in layman's terms.
Yeah, I've been there. Obviously, been there
Yeah.
myself. And it's an unforgiving job. It's difficult. You can never please everyone. You're
Oh
always
no, no, no.
and
You don't always make that one person happy. You're gonna make people, unfortunately, that you're not going to keep everyone happy, because if you did, it'd be quite boring. I am human. I will make mistakes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be perfect. No one's perfect. You make mistakes, and I've made mistakes as a rep. But I always make sure when I have those wins, I stand on a table and I make everyone listen that I've won for that member or all the membership.
this is it. And this is obviously this is how me and Si met, is obviously through the union, because I
It
was
was no,
you know
it was through TikTok at first.
was it
Yes, you would start doing your videos and you had your union top on.
that was it that
And I
was it
said, I'm
yes
I'm a member of Unite. Nice to meet you, comrade. And that's just
that was it yes.
that's how it all
So
started.
my memory's so like obviously part of my mental health thing, when I had the crash, um part of my, whether it's like self-preservation and stuff like that goes on within my own head, it
Yeah.
just like it's so selective with memories and stuff like that. It just pinches bits and pieces and just my brain just sort of like locks out so much stuff. Like if Facebook didn't tell me, and this includes
Yeah.
family, if Facebook didn't tell me anniversaries, birthdays, and stuff like
Yeah.
that, honestly, just wouldn't know. I'm completely oblivious to anything, and it's a bizarre thing. Like, I can put my keys down somewhere, and brain just locks out where
The
I've put them,
smallest
and
thing.
it's just a
Well,
really strange. And that never used to happen before the accident. I had a very good memory recall on a lot of things. I could remember literally half the phone numbers in my phone book, and you know full bank, all my bank details were all completely like stored in my head. I
Jesus.
didn't have to like read a piece of paper and know where I had my account numbers for like every account and sort codes and everything. Bank, even the bank card, like the
Yeah.
16-digit number, and that I could recall all of that. Now, fog, just
Fair
fog.
play to you, mate.
Yeah,
You,
it's
you
hard.
seem to have done really well.
Yeah,
It's like
getting there.
when I was a kid and my mum took me off to get assessed for dyslexia, and I didn't know what was going on. I went to some place and I was doing bits and pieces, and because the school picked up on it, and my mum, you know, God bless her, she went through everything, all the red tape and everything to get me the best help. And the infant school and junior school I went to, that did the best, but obviously I had to go off to a what was called then a special needs school.
Yeah,
And I've spent all these years from play school, infants and juniors with all my friends. They went off to their respective secondary schools, mainstream, and I'm going off on my own to this special needs school. I didn't know anyone. I had to wear a green jumper, red tie, and a white shirt. And that was just the horridest uniform I've ever worn in my life. That only lasted a year, in year 7, but it turned out that that school did me the greatest thing. It gave me confidence. It gave me the tools to proceed after secondary school, and the teachers there. Obviously, at the time when I first started, I wasn't the best pupil there. I was a frustrated, angry, militant teenager. All the signs of a activist for a trade union rep in future life. But I would, I'd take my hat off to Oak Lodge School, Dibden and Hythe in Southampton. Absolutely fantastic school that deal with kids with Asperger's, all the disabilities that there is, neurodiversity and that, they did me brilliantly. And I went on to college as well afterwards and did continue education. and then I left there. I had an adult life then dealing with it, and I still, because some of the comments were nowadays are, oh, you had it as a kid, but you don't seem to have it now, and I'm like, no, it's not like a little illness that you have as a kid, and as you get older, it disappears. Dyslexia is there; it is in your life. It's there. It doesn't disappear as you get older. It's not like a growing pain in your knee. As you grow, you get growing pains. It stays with you. And I've got, thankfully, I've got a family, I've got a wife and friends around me that understand me, they get me, and also helpful and kind. There's things that I do around the house which I know my wife wants to bury me out in the patio sometimes, but she understands me, that I see different through my eyes than she does her own. And that's what I like, that I've got that friendship, I've got that family, I've got my wife that supports me.
Yeah, it's I mean, when I'm undiagnosed, dyslexic, but I know what it is. I never when I was at secondary school, which was so you could go back and look at my primary school, and every school report at the end of the year all said the same thing, and it was, he has all this creativity, this energy, and he can do this and he can do that, but he never gets it on paper.
Yeah.
He never gets it down. And then you go into secondary school and the reports are the same. And it was never, dyslexia was something that was never really picked up upon as much when I was at school. And I
No,
think that's
no,
the
I
problem.
agree with that.
There's no
It
support
was
level.
it was more of you sit at the back of the classroom, you're being disruptive. Just use ourselves. If we're in a classroom, I was Alan and Simon playing up again, put them at the back. Put them at the back, take your time doing your work. If you don't finish it, there's no drama. Don't blame the teachers. I don't blame the teachers, because at the time, they were only doing what they had. The tools that they had, that's all they had. Unless you went to like the school that I went to, a special needs school, where they had the tools, but not the tools they probably have got nowadays. It was hard. It was, for me, it was the bullying. The constant bullying. I'd come home from school in my uniform, walk to my granddad's, saw kids from my infants and junior school. I thought they were still friends. Push me off my bike, beat me up. The torment all the time. But as you get older and they see how you've progressed, I don't hate them, and I don't look for revenge, because we were all kids and there was not enough education out there as slowly there is. I don't think there's still enough being done about dyslexia. That's why, you asked me about speaking about it, because, the platforms like this are really, really helpful, because if someone out there's listening to this who has dyslexia and has never put their hand up and said, yeah, I've got what these two are talking about. How do I go about getting help, or how do I go about getting assessed? And it could be an adult, it could be an adult like our age,
I mean, I worked with a lot of people when I was before, and including my job now, that struggle. And obviously, part of my job now is that there's a little bit of paperwork you do. You have to fill out, your accuracy with your log cards for recording your driving hours, etc. And I know that there's people that probably suffer in silence, and they don't talk, and they don't they just get on with the job and do what they can, but they could probably do with that little bit of help. And when particularly when I was at secondary school, one thing that actually, and so when you were disruptive and that, you got taken out of the class and you got sent to what they called at the time the div room. So that's where all the disruptive kids got sent. The thing that benefited me on that was that that was where all the school computers were. So at the time, it was like the IBM, and like the BBC computers, those kind of things. So I became self-taught and self-proficient in using a computer, which was phenomenal for me, because I could write stuff on the screen, make as many spelling mistakes, miss out complete sentences, even though
Oh,
in my brain
no, exactly how you feel.
I know that I'd put them on there, and yet the spell check and everything, but that then gave me a level of learning, so I was able to. That was like a support mechanism for me. That the computer became my support mechanism, not
Mm.
so much the teachers, because yet again, they had no training and understanding about how to deal with those issues at that time. So obviously now I'm very proficient with technology. In fact, most people that I work with, when they've got problems with their phones and their computers, and that they come to me to sort it out, which is quite ironic. But yeah, I just think I think it's an important thing to highlight. I think it's
Yeah,
all too easy these days that to write kids off and say, okay, just send them off to. I'd like to see more. So this, don't get me wrong, they call it obviously the send schools now and stuff like that, and they are brilliant, and particularly with people like with autism and ADHD stuff like that. But I'd like to see more done in mainstream schools,
yes,
particularly for dyslexia, so that more people can remain in mainstream education and but have the support, because the thing with a lot of dyslexic people, it's all here.
yes,
Some
all
of the
in
most
there. It's
incredible intelligent people that I
mm,
know that are dyslexic, but they cannot, but unless someone unlocks the pathway for them to do it, they
mm.
cannot get it from here to here, and there's that's where they get held back in the
You're
frustration.
absolutely spot on. It's. I've got to say it. Men our age don't talk.
They
We
don't.
do not talk in a group. We don't talk together. We don't
No.
open up. And that's why platforms like this are so important, so men can talk, and hopefully someone's listening out there or has a question that they can help out. And you're right about mainstream schools. Or hopefully, I don't mean to go political, we see a change in government and they help the teachers. They give the teachers the tools and
Yeah.
the funding they need so they can help these pupils in their schools. Because it's not the teachers' fault. They're only working with what they got, and they want to do so much for kids. So when they leave secondary school, if they go off to college or university, they've had the groundwork. You know, that's yeah, you're totally spot on.
Yeah. I mean, I never had. I would have loved to have gone to college or university, but I never saw that there was that sort of like pathway for me to do it, because never felt like I had the support of that. So I ended up,
Mm.
obviously, my mum worked at Asda at the time.
I worked at Sainsbury's.
She was a manager at Asda, and so I did my work experience there, and I thought, well, do you know what? Um, During this point and where I'm doing my work, I'm a 15-year-old kid. I go in there, I do my work experience, and I worked my nuts off. I didn't just turn up and go, oh, this is a shop, a work experience.
We
I went
all
in
did.
there and I worked. I was probably the most productive person on the section that I was working. The dairy and yogurt aisle in Asda at that
Yeah.
time never looked so much spot on. And the manager said to me, if you want, when you turn 16, if you don't want, if you don't want to carry, sorry, a little fucking fly trying to attack me. If you don't want to carry on in education or for whatever, he goes, you got a job here. So you want to come and work, you come and see me and you're in.
Mine
Um,
was the same. I
yeah,
did year 11. We got into work experience mode at the time then. And obviously, I live near my local Sainsbury's in Southampton. And I managed to get the work experience. And like you, I was really into it. It's like, oh, this is better. Because I was always the one that just wanted to finish school, get out to work, you know. So I was really enjoying it, getting in, doing stacking shelves, working up in the bakery, and doing all the other bits and pieces, learning working life. And they offered me the job, and I stayed there for after that for about 2, 3 years, and then something happened there, and then I went on to the council, But
mm.
yeah, I excelled in work experience.
I mean, with me, ultimately I got frustrated because I was a young guy. I was progressing quite fast. I was good at what I did. Um, and then part of my frustration is when people put a roadblock in front of me I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if that's not the avenue that I'm going to end up going down, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Mm.
Um, and then I had a thing. Obviously, I lost a very good close friend of mine, which I'm going to be touching on in the documentary, and because of these pathways that were being blocked for me to progress, and because this guy, my friend, when he passed, um, he worked with me. As
Right.
I found that very, very difficult emotionally to stay in the job there, because it was just too many memories, too many things that you know, you'd be working a certain thing and you go, oh, you know, me and so, you know, we used to do that together. And so I had a mate of mine, actually, fun enough, who was working on the buses. He used to work with me at Asda, and we had a chat, and he was like, well, you know, to be honest, mate, he goes, well, I don't know why you don't come and do what I do, because I'll sit on me ass for 8 or 9 hours a day. They haven't really got a boss, as long as you keep your nose clean and you do what you got to do. He goes, there's very, there's minimal paperwork. You have to do. You fill out your times on your log card as you're driving, and he goes, and you'll be getting paid more. So I applied. I had a great meeting with a manager, and then I end up getting a job. And 24 years later, I'm still there. I served. I've served at 3 garages, 17 years of which I was involved as a union official in some capacity, be that as a chair or a secretary, etc.,
I've
helping.
just been made the branch chair.
Yeah, well, it's hard. Obviously, paperwork wise, I had to learn on the go,
Mm.
because it wasn't easy for me always with paperwork. Computers obviously fantastic, so I could do a lot with that. But I'd had great support. The fact that in both the garages where I was, you know, a representative, the rep at the time. So you had Dwayne Alloway and Wayne's the Speedies. They were of great support, and I was like the bulldog. So I was the one that would be kicking managers' doors down and
Yeah, yeah,
causing trouble and going, you can't do this with this guy, and you're not giving him a discipline for that. You got to support him, give him a day off for this, that, and it. Or and luckily for me, I had these two guys that would go, okay, I understand that, I understand the passion, but we've got to rein it in a little bit.
yeah, yeah. The days
Okay,
of doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, I, I,
So I
I was
learned a
like, I was
lot.
like a bull in a china shop when I first started.
Yeah, I learned a lot from those guys. And the support that they gave me, I could never thank them enough.
Yeah,
Obviously, I know things didn't end particularly well for me over the last with the union for the last month or so, but I still help people, in spite of
you
the fact
always
I'm
do,
not.
don't you?
Yeah, people still come to me and say, "Oh, I've had a problem with the manager with this, that, and the other." I'm like, "Well, you need to speak to Dave, the rep, or whoever." I said, because they're the ones that can. I said, I can't come in and, you know,
Mm.
in there with you, but I'll give you this advice, and these are, the rules, and blah blah blah. These are what you need to speak up for yourself on, and knowledge is power at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah,
And it, yeah,
my convener, who's now branch secretary, he's been my mentor since I 20 well since I became a since I became a rep. You know, he's guided me, he's helped me, he's pushed me in the right direction, and give me the opportunities when he thinks I need them. And without him, I'd be lost. I'd be walking in the woods with my head in the air. You know, the knowledge in his head about waste, and people think, you know, what knowledge do you need about putting bins on? You know, but there's a lot to
there's a
it,
lot.
and I suppose as being a rep like you were, and myself, I am. It's all the terms and conditions. It's all the policies and procedures. It's all the day-to-day running stuff. You
Yeah,
know, constantly on the bounce all the time. And without him, I'd be, yeah, I wouldn't be nowhere without him. And he's helped me as well. And he get again, like with my reading and writing and everything, he's very helpful with that as well.
yeah. I mean, my dad's, I think, I don't know whether it's a hereditary thing or not. In fact, and they won't mind me saying it, both my parents, that with their spelling, etc., but then in one way or another, in both their lives, my mum got to a really high level position at at Asda. She doesn't work anymore. She got MS, so she had to, she gave up work in the end, but still very active. She doesn't let the condition hold her back any form or any way at all. And my dad, he left school and done various different jobs, this, that, and the other, transport jobs. So driving obviously runs in the blood.
Family.
But
Yeah.
then he ended up in the film industry, and he excelled in the film industry as a grip, and as a stagehand, which they build the sets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The grip runs the track and that the camera dolly sits on. He was very, very well respected within the industry, still is. And he excelled in everything he did. But a lot of that came from work ethic. And if I picked anything up from my parents as a kid, it was that a 100% effort can take you really, really far.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I'm doing the employment law diploma with the Unite Union at the moment. I've started that. I never ever thought in my life I would be studying for a diploma. I never thought that I'd have any brain capacity to do that. If you asked me back when I was at school that when you're 39 years old, you're going to be doing the diploma in employment law, I'd laugh at you. I would have laughed you all the way home. I'd have held your hand and walked you to your door and still laughed at you. But it's challenging. I will admit, I thought at one point I was in over my head. I thought, yeah, I'm going to have to leave this, But the group of people that are doing it are all helping each other. Again, I've got friends in our union that have already done it and given me support, and giving me tips. So I'm all right with that. But the challenges now that I'm setting myself as in adult life, I've shocked myself really.
Yeah, you've
My,
done
my,
really.
my dad,
You've done amazing, mate. Honestly.
my dad, he's got dyslexia, and he went to a school in Southampton called Red Lodge. He went there. My granddad had it, and my mum as well. But she did well in working life. She was a physiotherapist at Southampton General Hospital. She done really well with herself, won awards and certificates and everything. And she's was the one that got me to Oak Lodge. And my wife, she every day, anything that I can't read, anything that I'm challenging with, she'll always proofread it for me as well. Make sure there's no spelling mistakes. So if I'm sending an email to, head of service, she'll go through it, same as me social media posts or texts, anything. She'll always, help me with that. And I'd be lost without her, my wife.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's incredible to have that support network around you. What I will
yeah,
be doing,
I think if you've got a good family connection and good support network you can rely on and bounce to, it gets you through life. Again, it's because you're speaking up. So conversations like this, men, just speak.
Talk.
Break that glass and start talking about, if you've got ADHD, you've got dyslexia, or any of the other known disabilities.
That's it. And talking is key. And what I will do as part of this, and if anyone that does watch this back, and I know that it's a football podcast, but this is life, and this, there'll be fans of people of clubs that will end up watching this, and this, this conversation will resonate with them, and that. So what I'll be doing in the description on the YouTube video, etc., I am going to put some links in to some websites, etc., where people can get some support and help if they need it. Just so that way people know, there is a direction that they can go. If people want to jump in the comments, I'm sure that people can come and I can send them your way, and you can give them some advice and stuff. And obviously they can follow you on TikTok and give you messages and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, look me
There
up on
may be
social
people,
media.
exactly. There may be people in, young people in the workplaces that they work in that are interested in, getting involved with the union to make their
Yeah, join the
workplaces.
fight, join Unite.
This is it. Make their workplaces better, etc.
Exactly. There's one
So
thing we
it's
didn't hit
important.
on, and that's the missed out rivalry derby match. That's not going to happen now. There were
Oh,
so many Portsmouth fans thinking that we weren't going to do it, and they were looking for the derby. I've got a couple of Portsmouth fans at work. They were itching for us to be playing them
well,
down at.
I'd love to have seen that. I mean, that's one of the derbies I've never actually experienced, and I've still not been to St Mary. So I'm going to have to come down, and I'll come to a game with you. And
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well, let's put it this way: you've got your London derbies with the London clubs. You got your Manchester, Liverpool, and that. And obviously, it's all sets of fans will say that nothing like it, nothing like it, nothing like it. But being in a stadium where you've got Southampton and Portsmouth fans, there honestly there isn't. I don't mean to be, using the same words. There is the atmosphere, nothing like it. It there you can actually feel the hatred.
it's
You
different.
know, it is absolutely fantastic. I remember when we first played them in my lifetime, we were in League One, they were Premier League, they were going through that hardship. They were going to get points deducted and everything, and we scored. I couldn't believe it. At St Mary's, Ricky Lambert scored, and obviously they went on to win 4-1. Fast forward to 2018, we're back in the Premier League. They're League One. We go down to Fratton Park. We smash them 4-0 in their own backyard. They didn't score. So that's what I have over them. But over the periods, we did meet each other in the championship before, But I was looking forward to playing them again because it's always exciting. It's always great. And my energy levels and my excitement run through the roof. It looks like I've got 1,000 numbers running through me. It's great. But we're in the Prem. Who knows? In the FA Cup and the League Cup, who knows? We could play each other, which would be fantastic.
I mean, obviously, touching on that with them, obviously they'll come with a level of momentum, and you do tend to see this happen. We've seen it happen with Ipswich with this year, where you come out of League One and you carry a momentum into the Championship, and that can take you into the playoffs or automatic promotion. So if you can stay up, and they then get that level of bounce, there's a chance that this derby could happen in the Premier League.
The Premier League will be hot. Because I said if we didn't win the playoffs and we stayed in the Championship, it will, and we played each other, and it'll definitely be on the respective channels on your telly.
Yeah,
it would make non-Southampton and Portsmouth fans watch that game, and the viewership would be through the roof, and both sets of club would benefit from it because it's such a high-profile game.
Yeah.
It would have made great viewing because non-Southampton and Portsmouth fans would watch it because it's a derby. It's Southampton versus Portsmouth or Portsmouth versus Southampton, And if we stay in touch wood, we stay in the Premier League, and if they're lucky and if they're good enough to carry on back-to-back promotions, but there's only one team in the South Coast that does that, and unfortunately it wasn't them. They come up, the Premier League will be even more exciting. You've got your London derbies, you've got your Manc derbies with Liverpool thrown in the middle, and then you have a South Coast derby. Bournemouth and Brighton are not relevant because Bournemouth's the southwest and Brighton's the other way. They just cling on to the derbies. If you ask a Portsmouth fan, they say the same. There's only one derby in the South Coast, and that's this team and their team. So it would be exciting, and being in as a steward working there, the atmosphere is it's brilliant.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want for that game. You definitely wouldn't want to be in front of the away fans. That's for
Well,
sure.
my days of going and standing and being against away supporters are all over those days. Like that's why I work. It keeps me grounded. But I do sing along as
I'll
a
tell you what though,
worker.
like
I do sing
I've
along,
only
and I
ever
have
been
had my
to
wrist slapped a few times. But I've always said I'm a Saints supporter first, a Steward second.
I've only ever been to Fratton Park a couple of times, and my word, it's a. I mean, it's not the best stadium in the world, but my word, the fans make a racket. You know, it's a real hostile atmosphere.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so
I don't want to be disrespectful because any Portsmouth fans are viewing. You know,
mm.
I went there to watch an England women's game, and it was yeah. Kudos to him for keeping an old stadium. We're going to be talking football, and as football fans, you know, there's not many old stadiums left now.
No,
You know, they're all these big, like massive hotel kind of things, stupid skyscraper stadiums. You know, because it's all commercialized now.
yeah,
Football's not about what the meaning of football's about. You know, and I'll give it to Portsmouth that they've kept their stadium, and obviously one day they will have to have a stadium like Stamford Bridge, like St Mary's, like Anfield or Old Trafford and the Etihad. You know,
yeah,
they're going to have to one day. They want to be in the Premier League. They're going to have to look at having a bigger stadium, but those small grounds is what football's all about, and there is that this worry that one day football's going to be way too commercialized, a bit like American football. It's going to be like that, and it's going to be stupid. And there's enough,
soulless
as we all
bulbs.
know, there is enough money in football already. You know, with players' wages and the amount of money that's paid for a player, and business owners owning a club that have no background in football whatsoever. And when you get,
Todd Bowley.
yeah, and when you get a group of people that have a brain fart and try and take the top people out the Premier League and have it as some sort of national super league because they don't know nothing about football and its supporters. You know, football should be about end of week, take your daughter or your son, or as a family, you go. It should be somewhere cheap. It should be somewhere it's not going to hit the banky balances, you know. But nowadays, you look at the ticket prices, you know, you have to get a mortgage to buy one. It's ridiculous. That's why people stay at home and watch it on the telly.
This is it. I mean, I found in with my daughter. I mean, I've not been able to go to many matches, but what I did find was that we ended up going and watching Chelsea women far
I
more.
was going to say that. Well
One,
done.
because the atmosphere for a young child is far less hostile, so it's far
Yes.
more fan friendly for families, and obviously for her being a girl, she can identify with the players on the pitch far more.
Of course.
But like you say, it's just a cost thing. So like a season ticket to watch Chelsea women was like 45 quid. You know, it's just a no-brainer. And even if you want to turn up on, you know, if you season tickets for someone like me being shift worker and that just don't work anyway, because like you just always
Yeah.
predominantly we don't get many weekends off anyway. So
No.
um so being having the ability to say, okay, there's a fixture, we'll go to that and being able to turn up on the day or just go on the website a few couple of days before and be able to book tickets is I mean, and if there's anyone that does watch it, do have a look at you know, even if it's teams that you don't support. So like, you know, to me, literally less than a mile away, I've got Tooting and Mitcham Football Club, which is a very, very good, well-run non-league football club. And if I can't get to Stamford Bridge, I'd rather go and pay, you know, £9 and go and watch a game of honest football down there in a lovely little stadium. And you know, so if you can't get to watch, you know,
Grassroots.
go and watch some grassroots football.
Yeah.
Go and support your club's women's team, or and another one as well, which a lot of people really don't take advantage of. is going and watch your, particularly for like Premier League clubs and Championship clubs, etc. Go and watch your under 23s, because a lot of the time they'll play at the stadium, at the main stadium anyway. The football's still going to be good, and you're going to see some great up and coming young players as well, but they have the potential to, be in the first team within a year or two. So there's always options. There's always options. That if you love watching live football, there's always options.
I've got a local team I go and watch, is that Eastleigh.
Yeah.
Eastleigh, I go and watch them. It's 12 quid to get in, cheap food, cheap beer, 30 quid for a top. And they had a great season. Unlucky, but again, that's the grassroots team, which I'll go and watch. And you're right, you're spot on. Saints Academy, the under 21s, and so forth. The Saints women, they're in the championship. They had a great season. Unlucky against Arsenal in the cup. Next season, hopefully, they push and they get into the women's version of the Premier League. That'd be fantastic. Considering,
I'll tell you now, if they do get up, 100%, we'll try and make sure we can book days off on that. If you do get in the WSL, then whether it's up here at Kings Meadow, or if they move the game to the Bridge, but yeah, if it's at Kings Meadow or if it's down there, then we'll go. We'll go.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll do a live report.
Yeah, of course, that'd be fantastic. Awesome. For me, seeing Southampton women's now where they are, when, no disrespect to the Southampton Football Club, they had nothing to do with them. They kept them separate. They didn't want nothing to do with the Southampton women's, only because the England women's team won the Euros and done so well ever since. Yeah. They went, yeah, here you go. Come with us now. You can be part of Southampton Football Club, which I think is bad, because you should have done it in the first place, like other football clubs. You shouldn't have to wait until a national team wins something and highlight something for women's football. You know what I mean? That's pretty bad.
I mean, I'll say one thing for Chelsea women. The club, initially they were playing at Staines, which is nowhere near, obviously, where we're from, where the club's from, etc. But fair play to the club and initially, obviously, Roman, that they was able to secure getting football played initially, because AFC Wimbledon were playing there anyway at Kings Meadow, which is in Kingston, so it's not like a million miles away from Chelsea. And then obviously, as part of helping AFC Wimbledon get to their new stadium back at Plough Lane, we bought the ground off of them for, I think it was like 4 million quid, which helped them finish off the new Plough Lane. And they've transformed Kings Meadow into like a mini Stamford Bridge. It's all properly decked out in all the Chelsea gear, the little stands and everything, and it's a proper little home. And what I love about the women's football, and I've touched on obviously the success of Emma Hayes and stuff like that at Chelsea, and obviously it's phenomenal that she signed off with a WSL title in a very, very final game in charge of the club before she went off to America. But what I love is the accessibility of women's football. The fact that, before and after the game, when the women's players are coming into the ground and stuff like that, is that the fans can meet them and mingle with them. And you don't get at top flight men's football, you don't get that accessibility, because they've got the security, the entourage around them, and they're not accessible to a degree. And like you say, everything's so commercialized with top level football that to meet players you have to pay and stuff like that.
In the Premier League, you're known as customers, not supporters. I've got to remind my club, and it does annoy them when I say, hang on, they're supporters, not customers. They own this club, they're supporters.
Yeah, and that I think it's very easy, particularly for the foreign owners coming in, if they've never owned clubs before, to really. English football is very different from football in other parts of the world. I mean,
and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to change it into the other parts of the world.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, you won't.
South American, the South American clubs, they get it. I mean, they're a lot. Their clubs are part of their communities. They're part of what makes up their things. And obviously, particularly with American owners, I don't want to be too harsh on American owners, because their intentions are very good, but somewhat misguided sometimes is that obviously a lot of American sport is so franchisable. You know,
Yes.
they'll pick up clubs and they'll move teams to other cities and rebrand, and if
Mm.
they think that's more commercially viable, or particularly if a city wants a lot of regeneration within their city, they'll get an NFL or a club to move. And obviously, so you don't get a level of continuation in the fan base and
No.
generational support, because it's not coming from where it started. Whereas obviously with if you're a 4 or 5 year old kid, probably like yourself, your first game you probably went to would have been the Dell, I'd imagine.
Yeah, the good
And
old Dell.
I did go to the Dell as a Chelsea away, but I was tiny, so I don't really remember it. I remember it being very tight, and if I remember rightly, like the away stand,
Was
um,
one side like here,
yeah, and it was
like
like
that.
felt like the roof was in on you like this,
Yeah.
and and obviously you're so close to the pitch, you can literally lean over and touch a player.
Mm.
And I think the only thing with my criticism of these modern stadiums, these bit soulless bowls that
Yes.
and
You
these
got that
blue
distance.
yeah, blueprint stadiums, I call them. And don't get me
Yes, that's
right,
the.
commercially they're better, they're easier to run, they're easier to maintain, etc. Um, but yeah, I feel like a slight lack of atmosphere. And
Mm.
when I go up to you know somewhere like Stoke, it still has the elements of a traditional sort of like four-sided stadium. I know they've
Yeah,
started
spot
filling
on.
some of the
Yeah,
corners in, etc., but the atmosphere kind of still is there. Obviously, our local rivals, Fulham, the Craven Cottage,
that's right. Yeah,
albeit they've got their new stand now, but there's still an element of being a traditional. You still got the cottage in the corner,
yeah.
where the players get changed, etc. And you still, which is such a bizarre thing in football. The fact that you're in a modern day modern day Premier League, and in the corner of the stadium, there's this tiny like cottage that goes back to like 1905 or whatever
That's
it is,
right. Yeah,
and it's incredible. And I think we have to. There's so much about football that gets like pasted
forgotten.
over and
Mm.
forgotten, and I think that you have to remember your roots and remember where you come from in football,
Oh, of course,
because
definitely
otherwise, I if you think what football could look like in 4 or 5 years' time, the way it is commercially,
frightening.
and that, where does the next fan base come from? And I know there's actually a lot of people I know, um, that they even though they're Premier League supporters and that, their kids have actually started going off and looking at more local clubs. So rather than going and supporting Chelsea, this, that, and the other, or whatever, they're now looking at clubs in like more locally. So that would be in, say, Championship, League One, because it's financially it's better and easier for them. They can always get
And
tickets,
cheaper.
etc. And the fans just make it mean more.
Mm.
I've been very, very lucky. Good friend of mine who's been on the pod, and I go up and see him 2 or 3 times a year. So I've been able to go up, and he's a Derby County fan. And from where that club and what they've been through in the last couple of years to bounce back, and I've been to we went to the game during this season up at when we played Northampton, and bearing in mind, Derby County, if I remember correctly, it's the 16th biggest stadium in the country.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's a
And
massive stadium.
Pride Park yeah, again, it is a bowl. It's very, very similar to like Stadium of Light, Sunderland, St Mary's. But the fans are real fans, and they
Mm.
generate that real football stadium atmosphere, which is phenomenal, which I love, and just everything about. And yet again, I love League One football. I love Championship. I honestly think the Championship is probably the hardest division in Europe
Yeah,
by
I
far.
noticed from when we first. Yeah, this season I'll take it. Yeah, this season, in the championship, I've never seen it so competitive.
Yeah, it's
Really,
crazy.
really competitive. You know, it was just so fantastic to watch. You know, especially my team, Southampton, going out there and having that 21 game unbeaten. Yeah, that was just something superb to watch.
Yeah,
That
it's
was.
incredible when you look up and
The manner and the way we went about getting ourselves back to the Prem. Looking back now, I can go, yeah, that was a really good effort and a really good go at it.
Yeah, and it's incredible when you look up and down, even from like League Two, League One, Championship, the amount of like teams within the last, say, 15 to 20 years that were originally established Premier League teams.
Yeah, yeah.
Just huge clubs,
You
and
look
a
when
lot
the
of clubs
Premier
have
League
gone for it.
first started.
Yeah,
Was it 92, 93?
92, the 92 season.
You look at the
Yeah.
teams that were in there and look where they are now.
And a lot of people forget the year before the inception of the Premier League, which would have been the last year of Division One.
Yes,
Leeds United were the champions.
Yeah, they were. Yes, it was on the Premier League years. The other
Gordon Strachan, McAllister, etc. And now you look where Leeds went to. They were very close to one going out of business. Then ended up dropping down as far as League One, and then eventually coming back to the Premier League and obviously relegation now. But and yourselves have been on a similar journey. I mean, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Southampton, mainly because of Matt Letizia. I am a huge Matt. I mean, if any young people are watching this and you've never watched the highlights reel of Matt Letizia goals,
go and watch it on YouTube.
You need to go and watch it because
he was scoring goals back then. What players score now?
Your Messi's and Ronaldo's, yeah.
And David Beckham. Goals
there was
Beckham
one
scored
in particular against what that resonate with me was there was a goal he scored against Newcastle where he brought it down sort of left side of the pitch, he popped it over one player there, and then just like slotted it in. And then there was that one he did a very similar one against Blackburn where he sat Colin Hendry. Colin Hendry didn't know what planet he was on, honestly.
And the one against Wimbledon where he just chipped it up and just hit it and went straight in the corner. Brilliant. And the final goal at the Dell.
I mean, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it.
He took a touch, banged it straight in, beat Arsenal.
And very rarely now, particularly at clubs, and no disrespect to Southampton, but particularly of clubs of Southampton size, very rarely do you get a player that's such a star, such a great talent that stays with one club.
Yeah, it goes back to loyalty, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he had the opportunities.
He had opportunities from you guys, United, Newcastle. The names we could throw out that Letizia could have gone to, but he stayed and stayed loyal and finished his football at Southampton. Now, I don't know one player from our generation growing up that's done that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like for me, obviously, I mean, even John Terry ended up finishing up at Villa. So, he didn't even, he was obviously with us a long time.
Lampard, Man City.
I suppose the only other one off the top of my head that I can really think of would have been Paul Scholes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Scholes in.
I know he went to Oldham. I don't think it was as player manager, but I think it was just a straight manager. So I think this entire
player-wise, Scholes.
Other than maybe a loan or two at the start of the career, I think he was pretty much United for the vast majority of his professional.
Well, he's part of the class of '92, isn't he?
This is it, yeah. And I'm obsessed with that anyway. I watch all football documentaries. I can't hoover them up.
Well, I know it's the opposite team we don't support, but we grew up watching those players.
Yeah.
Obviously, football
for me,
respective clubs. We were, we saw it all.
Yeah, for me, they had the greatest Premier League midfield four that I've ever seen, which was obviously Giggsy on the left, Scholes and Keane in midfield, and Becks on the right. I just don't think you get a more complete unit than that.
You even say them names now, and I would be frightened to play against those.
Could you imagine lining up against that every week?
Even playing against Roy Keane. I'd have to wear double shin pads.
and to think, I think he was, if I remember rightly, when he went from Forest to United, that would have been, I think it was like something like 1.5 mil or something like that at the time.
Well, yeah, at the time,
I think
yeah.
that would have been a British record at the time.
I
And then I
know, and then
think it was
Alan
only
Shearer smashed that when he left
Southampton
us.
to Blackburn, which was about 3.5 mil or
At the
something like
time,
that.
that was the
Yeah,
that was the
wow.
biggest amount of
How far
money.
we've come. I mean, 3.5 mil probably wouldn't get you a League Two player now.
No, you got to spend at least 20 mil in the Prem
It's
to buy.
incredible when you think about the players. If and touching back on Letizia, we'll finish up on Letiz as well. How much would Letiz be worth in the current market?
I wouldn't like to
I
think.
mean, we've got to be talking £100 million
A
player.
young Matt Letizia, fresh from
22, 23-year-old Matt Letizia doing what he was doing at the time
from Guernsey
in current levels, pulling off those kind of goals.
He would be one season at St Mary's.
Yeah,
gone.
I personally, I think someone, because he's got quite an exotic sounding name apart from the Matt at the front, but Letizia. I mean, you could easily see, you wouldn't, a player of his kind of quality and the goals he was scoring, you could easily see that gracing, the Nou Camp or the Bernabeu without any question.
Yeah, of course. He would be in a top team in the Spanish league, top team in German league, any league. I think he would be in one of the top teams in those leagues if it was a young Matt Letizia coming out now.
And very underutilized by England at the time.
Do you know what? I think any football fan, when Euro 96 came along, how Matt was in his prime.
Yeah.
He was scoring goals for fun. How he wasn't picked to be in the England squad, even World Cup '98. Glenn Hoddle. How he wasn't picked by both sets of managers in '96, '98 to be in that team. Who knows?
Which was harsh as well, because obviously he played in the game that got us qualified for '98. So he played in the game against Italy in back end of '97. So it'd have been the September or the October of '97.
That's correct. Because
Ian
Wright was injured.
Yeah, he hit the post as well, if I remember
rightly.
That's right. As well.
So there you go.
In Rome. So we qualified for that tournament, and then he didn't get picked for the final squad.
You take Darren Anderton, Matt Letizia.
Stick note.
I would have gone Matt Letizia myself.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I think that is literally it's the perfect way to end this episode, mate, by talking about Matt Letizia and that absolute Southampton legend. So I'm going to say a massive thank you for coming on the show, mate. Honestly, it's been an absolute honour to have you.
I just want to say thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend a bit of time talking about football and men's mental health and our disabilities, and I wish you nothing but the best with your podcast.
Cheers.
And everyone that's listening out there, please give my friend a follow, subscribe, anything, because the man puts a lot of his own time and effort into making something good and a lot of time away from his family as well. So all the best to you for your podcast and all the best to your family and whatever you do next, my friend.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate that so much.
Not a problem.
Honestly, this has been brilliant, and obviously doesn't mean that we're not going to have you on again. We're definitely going to have you on again. And
anytime, my friend. If it helps what you're trying to achieve, I'm all yours. Not a problem.
Brilliant. Hopefully, it won't take us so long this time to try and sort a date out. This is, obviously
it's always
busy.
The better way. If it takes longer, it's always better.
Good things are worth waiting for.
I look forward to playing Chelsea next season.
Do you know what? It'd be incredible. It'd be amazing. I'll have to, maybe even if I might be able to try and come down and we go to the game, and I'll have to sit in the Southampton end with you.
Come and find you.
Well, I'll come and sit with you, and there's no chance.
I won't worry.
No chance of me getting an away ticket, so no chance. So I can come and I'll just have to be quiet if we score.
Yeah.
The chances are,
sit on your hands, as they say. Sit on your hands.
Probably the time we play you, we'll be on about probably our 6th manager of the season, and
when you've won 6-0,
Yeah, And then Southampton will be smashing us at St Mary's, and I'll just be sat there in the stand going, "Yeah, this is great,
It's
great."
okay, my friend. Not a problem.
And he'd be like, "What?" They'd be like, "Why's your mate crying?" Oh,
He's
don't
so
worry,
happy. He's so happy.
he's got emotional issues, don't.
He's so happy to be here. It's his first
Oh,
game.
brilliant. Right. So for everyone that gets to watch this back, thank you so much, obviously, for the interaction. Don't forget, if you want to get in contact with the show, you can hit the link, and that gets you to all aspects of the show. One thing I will do while I've got you here, I don't know if you saw the post, but I'm doing a charity walk in September that I'm
I
organising.
think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be starting. So it's September the 8th,
Right.
starting at 10 a.m. at Stamford Bridge. And it's only a little 15-mile walk. It shouldn't take any more than about 5 hours or so. So you're more than welcome to. It'd be brilliant if you could come up and do it.
Check your planner, mate.
It's open to all. So yeah, it starts at Stamford Bridge, 10 a.m. We walk down to Craven Cottage at Fulham, then walk up to Loftus Road,
Yeah.
QPR, across to Brentford, the Brentford Community Stadium, and then the final stretch up to Wembley, taking in a couple of refreshments along the way.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Got to take a liquid lunch in, haven't you?
Yeah, a little liquid lunch. Obviously, I don't know the fixture lists or anything, so there could be games on that day, which would be awesome. But I'm organising everything. There's one central fundraising page on the Just Giving, and again, links to that all on the link tree. So for anyone that wants to be part of that, all you need to do is turn up at Stamford Bridge on September the 8th with a pair of shoes and your favourite football shirt on, and come and join in the walk. I've got about 6 or 7 people that have committed already to doing it.
Brilliant stuff. You're doing fantastic, mate.
The overall aim is to raise about £1,000. It's for Children with Cancer, the charity, which is
good on you.
I know a few mates of mine that their kids have suffered with leukemia and stuff like that at young ages and stuff. So it's cancer's always a thing that's always close to my heart. A lot of the charity stuff I've done down the years has been for cancer, for like Royal Marsden, etc. It's a horrible disease. There's probably not a family out there that cancer hasn't touched. So it's well worth getting involved with. And like I say, all instructions on the day, I will provide full instructions to everyone, so everyone knows the pathways and the roads and that they've got to take. That will all be covered and done by myself. I'm organising it all on my own as usual. And then all people want to do is literally just turn up on a day with a shirt on, and then share the fundraising page across. They don't have to set no fundraising up themselves. They just share what's already been created. We've already had a couple of donations in, so that's brilliant. And then that's it. It's an open invitation to anyone. So you're more than welcome.
Good stuff. I wish you nothing but the best with that, and you'll smash it.
Appreciate it. So there we go. That is season 4, episode 19 of the Talk Football podcast with Simon Cotton. We've talked about so much. I only said I'd keep you for about I think 45 minutes to an hour, and
wow,
we've been here for an hour and a half.
No worries, mate. We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's it. So yes, so that is it. That's the end of the episode. Once again, thank you to Si for coming on.
No problems at all.
And to all the folks on YouTube, I am about to say goodbye to you. So make sure you join us on the next episode.